This video is to give you the basics on in-text citations. So first of all, I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by an in-text citation, and then we'll go over some rules as far as how to put these together. An in-text citation is where you're giving credit for the information that you researched. You're giving credit to the author. It also not only gives them credit, but it tells the reader where you got the information so that they can look to the reference sheet later and be able to find that material. So let's see if I can bounce around here in my thesis that I wrote for graduate school years ago. Notice here that I have parentheses, and I have a last name and a date here. Okay, and if you go here, there's another one with a last name and a date, and you continue down here, and here's one with just a date, and here's one with a last name and a date. So those things are telling me where I can find that information if I were to look at it again. So, for example, down here, in order for a teacher to treat students as fellow human beings, the teacher must connect with the students by allowing them to see the teacher's human side. Well, who said that? A guy named Rehrscheid in 1993. Now, if I scroll down, I'm going to go very quickly here to my reference page. Okay, I'm on page 7. So I go down to my reference page, and I look here for Rehrscheid. There it is right there, 1993. He wrote an article called The Implications for Teachers' Use of Humor in the Classroom. Okay, so I can find out what source that was taken from just by knowing that last name and that date. That was on page 7. There we go. Okay, so that's what it's about. It's giving the author credit for saying something, or in some cases where you've taken what they've said and put it in your own words, but it's still not your thoughts, so you've got to give credit to the person that said it or came up with the idea. Alright, so let's look at this one here. This one right here, in like manner, research from Davis, 2006, in a study on teacher-student relationships, found that humor is a means to develop connections between students and teachers. Alright, this is one method to give the author credit. In the paper itself, in like manner, research from Davis. So I gave the author credit within the sentence. I didn't just say something. I said, this is what this guy said. When I do that, next to his name, I put the year that the article that he wrote said what he did. Notice Davis is not in the parentheses because I talked about him in my paper. I did that again here, researchers such as Mello, and then I put the date here. Okay? Then I did down here, Robin Mello, 2001, shares research. So I'm using their name in the paper, so I don't have to put it in parentheses like I did up here. Whereas up here, when I said the information, I did not talk about the author within the sentence of the research paper. So because I just made a statement rather than somebody getting the idea that this was my information, at the end of it I said, no, this is a guy named Rehrscheid who said this information, not me. So I had to make sure I told the reader at the end of that statement that this was not my stuff. This was Rehrscheid's stuff, and he said it in 1993. If I said, like right here, Rehrscheid suggests using humor in the classroom, well, I talked about him within the paper, so I don't have to put his name in parentheses again because I'm already giving him credit right here. And you just follow his name with the date. Okay? So that's what in-text citations are about. Let's see here if I scroll here. Here's another one, but this is 3 names. So notice that I just said the information, and at the end I said, okay, wait a minute, I'm not taking credit for this. Komarchuk, Swenson, and Warkuki said this. So I need to give them credit. Notice there's 3 authors, so it's the last name here, comma, next last name, comma, amber, or the and sign, Warkuki, and then the year they said it. Okay? So that's the normal way of doing it. Notice that all of my in-text citations, whether I included their name in my parentheses or I wrote their name outside the parentheses, I didn't say anything about a page number. Okay, the reason for that is you don't give a page number unless you write a direct quote from them. If this Mackin guy here in 1997 were to say this sentence here exactly, and I were to use the exact verbiage that he used, I would have put quotation mark there and put a quotation mark here. No period. The period goes at the end. But I would put quotation marks, and then I would have had to put a comma, P dot 254 to give not only him credit for saying it, but to say exactly where I got that information, since I said word for word what he said. So I've not only got to give him credit for the thought, I also have to give him credit saying that I took this out of the book and it is none of my information. It's all of his. So when you give in-text citations, you not only have to give the author credit for saying a direct quote, but you also have to give the author credit when you use his information, even when you put it in your own words. Okay, so let's go to Purdue here and look at some of their basics. Here's a very good paragraph here. If you are referring to an idea from another work, but not directly quoting the material, okay, that's what I did right here. Remember, I didn't have these quotes here to begin with. Alright, so I am using his idea, but I'm not directly quoting what he said. Okay, so if that's the case, where I use his ideas but I don't quote him directly, what does it say? You only have to make reference to the author and the year of publication. So that's why on this one, when I didn't do it directly, I gave him his last name and I put the year of publication. That's all you have to do. Okay. Let's cruise down here a little bit further. Short quotations. If you are directly quoting from a work, you will need to include the author, year of publication, and the page number for the reference. So, according to Jones, so again, Jones's name is in the paper itself, so it doesn't have to go in the parenthesis. Okay? What did Jones say? Students often had difficulty using APA, especially when it was their first time. Quotation. Since you use direct quotes, you have to follow it with the page number. Okay? So notice what happened here. After the name, you always put the date, if the name is within the paper. At the end of his quote, direct quote, there's where you put the page number, and notice the period is at the end after the page number. So it's broken up. You've got a parenthesis here and a parenthesis here, and the reason for that is this parenthesis always goes after the author's name. Okay? Look at this one here. If the author is not named in a signal phrase, meaning if you do not say Jones's name within the paper, or, according to Jones, or Jones found, if it's not in the paper itself, you place the author's last name, the year of publication, and the page number after the quotation. Okay? Very, very important to get that right. If you are correct, or quoting something that is greater than 40 words, what you need to do is you need to indent. See how this is indented here? You need to indent so that, well, I guess there's no really reason. That's just the way of doing it. You start the quotation on a new line, indented 1/2 inch from the left margin. Okay, so from this margin here, 1/2 inch in, and indent the first line of any subsequent paragraph within the quotation. Okay, so because this is a long quote, this comes clear out here. This is out here. This is where your normal indent is. Study found the following. It's a long quote here. So you indent this 1/2 inch here, and after you get here to at the end, now when you hit enter, you go clear back over in line with where Jones is here. So it comes back over to the left. It doesn't stay indented. Okay? Let's see. There's some other ideas in here I want to make sure I hit. In text, author, and authors. Okay. Citing an author, if you have two authors, if you say something like research by Wagner and Petty, notice the date there again. You just told there's two authors, so you gave them both credit. Or if you don't talk about Wagner and Petty within the paper, you have to put it in quotes at the end if you just write something. If you don't say research by them, if you just give me the information, then you have to put their names at the end. 3 authors, 3 to 5 authors, their last name, last name, last name, last name, comma, and sign Harlow, comma, year. Let's see. Six or more authors, not worried about. Okay, unknown author. If the work does not have an author, so if it's a website or something and there is no author, cite the source by its title in the signal phrase. That means within the paper, or use the first word or two in the parentheses. So you either have to do this according to the American Psychological Association, so you've already said where you got the information from in your paper. That's your signal phrase. Then you put the year. If it's not in your signal phrase, right here, there's nothing there about APA, then you must put it in your parenthesis. Okay. And since there's no author to using the APA, notice what they did here. Titles of books and reports are italicized or underlined. Okay. Titles of articles, chapters, and web pages. Notice web pages are in quotation marks. So if you've got just a web page and you do not have an author, then I'm sure you probably have a title. Put the title here like that. And if it's a title of a book, you need to italicize it. And if it's a title of an article or a chapter within the book, you put it in quotation marks, just like I have right there. Okay. So let's see here. Citing indirect sources, not going to worry about that. Okay, electronic sources. If possible, cite an electronic document the same as any other document by using the author date style. So, if you have an author and a publication date in the name, or a page or something, then you do it just the same way that you did earlier when I was explaining that. The author date, or the author date style. An unknown author, an unknown date. Sometimes you're going to get a website that doesn't have any author or any date. It's usually not a good idea to have many of those because you have no reliability there. I mean, anybody could have written this. So it's a little bit more difficult to use that because, it could have been the guy down the street that put it on Facebook. So it's just real hard to put that down as being truth and inaccurate. But if you do have an unknown author and an unknown date, if no author or date is given, use the title in your signal phrase. So within the paper, another study of students and research decisions discovered that students succeed with tutoring, yada yada yada. Okay, so there's your title is not in your signal phrase. So because that's the way it is, you need to put the title right there. And I know that because of the quotations, it is the name of a chapter. It's not the name of the book. And then I follow it with ND, meaning no date. Notice the periods. Comma, period, period, parenthesis, period. Okay? Sources without page numbers. When an electronic source lacks page numbers, which is most of them, you should try to include information that will help readers find the passage being cited. Okay, so if, for instance, the website does have a paragraph number, you can put last name, date, paragraph 5. But if they're not numbered and the document includes headings, provide the appropriate heading and specify the paragraph under that heading. Okay, what I would suggest doing, and don't tell anybody I said this, but I would suggest that when you're doing this, you kind of guess how far down the page you are or what paragraph you're in. So right here, according to Smith, they've got the date, but then when you give me the name, here is the name of the section, the Mind Over Matter section. Maybe that's the heading for that particular article. You scroll down and there's a section there called Mind Over Matter, and then you count how many paragraphs down you went in order to get that information. Okay, so we'll work through this as you're doing that first part of your paper. You're going to start putting these in-text citations in there. They're very, very, very important. And I do want to kind of give you an idea as you're writing how many I have in my thesis. Just this page number 9, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, Heather Davis 5, 6. I have 6 on one page. Let's go to page 10. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's just keep going here. As I go, some things are a little bit different. Here's William Glasser, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I would say that you probably are going to have somewhere between 6 to 8 on a page. So just something to keep in mind as you're writing. Okay, that's it.